and we are excited to talk about things. Lots and lots of things. Now, one of the big popular things that you hear in the social media and in the industry today in general is about things. People are talking about things a lot. They're talking about the Internet of Things. So, what are these things that we're talking about, and why do we need to have the internet to these things? Well, Internet of Things is a pretty simple concept, actually. I think the name is terrible, but engineers aren't always the best at coming up with names. I don't think the marketing department was involved when they came up with the whole IoT thing. First of all, it's got that mistake. It's an acronym, capital I, lowercase o, capital T. That's confusing. But that's what we're stuck with, so that's what we're going to talk about. The Internet of Things is basically just looking at the smart technologies that you deal with every day and making objects that, we think of as just independent objects, bringing them to life using internet connections, which will ultimately feed into artificial intelligence and programmatic changes and stuff like that. So let me give you some ideas so you know what I'm talking about. Alexa is a thing, right? A smart speaker. Your lights that turn on by voice command or by an app on your phone, that's a thing, right? Believe it or not, there are toilets out there now that are connected to the internet that can flush automatically or even register the components that are in the bowl. They can kind of break it down and send that off to a doctor or something like that. That's a thing. There's all kinds of just crazy bleeding edge technologies out there. The drones are a thing. Smart door entrances are a thing. There are things that measure pH in soil that's used for agriculture. There are things that measure temperatures that are used for agriculture. Your stoplights that control traffic, those are things. So maybe you're starting to get some idea of what we're talking about when we're talking about Internet of Things. The whole idea is to take all of these devices, things that exist out there that we use every day, and to connect them to the internet. Now, there's a lot of silly stuff out there. There's no doubt about that. And that's kind of the problem that you run into when you get into these types of innovative technologies, is the market is going to try all kinds of crazy, exciting things. Like smart refrigerators, for example, which I still don't understand the use case for, but they're very popular and they've started to come out. There's also like smart microwaves. Again, I don't understand why your microwave needs to be connected to the internet, but hey, if it finds a market, maybe there's some use for it out there. I know Amazon's been doing a lot of stuff with Alexa, trying to connect everything to Alexa to make it work on an Internet of Things type platform. So that's one way to think about it. Alexa, for example, is it's an Internet of Things platform. So you can connect all these different devices and have them do different things. Now, an actual positive use case that makes a lot of sense is smart cars. So imagine when the day comes that we actually have good and effective smart cars. Think about being able to get in your vehicle. Now that will completely reshape society, really. Because as it stands right now, like just take for example, when you get into your car, you sit and you face and you hold the wheel and you drive. Well, what's going to happen when the car drives itself? What's going to happen is maybe you and your friends get in, and instead of being like a car that you all sit and face forward, you sit in a circle, and you can all face each other and talk. Maybe it'll just be like a big box with a table in the middle. Who knows? It's going to change the way that cities are built. It's going to change the way, if you look at cities that were built before the advent of the motor vehicle, they have much, much different layouts. They're smaller, they're built for walking, and then you get this sprawling situation once the vehicle was introduced to the world. So that's one thing that's going to change, because once you get smart cars, it's not going to be a matter of, you're just going to hop in. I mean, it could be like a mobile desk. A commute of 2 hours isn't going to be wasting 2 hours. Now, on top of all that, you have all of the different things that are involved. Let's pick any industry and let's think about how the Internet of Things is going to impact that industry. One to really think about is going to be agriculture. And already these technologies are starting to come out. Imagine sensors everywhere, sensors that measure temperature, sensors that measure pH, sensors that measure moisture, sensors that measure acidity of the soil, sensors that measure certain chemical compounds. Now, the thing is, all that stuff is currently measured. You have to remember that. People do farmers, modern farmer techniques. They'll come and they'll get like a little plug of soil. They'll take it back to a lab. They'll measure all this stuff. And then based on that, they'll add different chemical components, fertilizers, and other things to try to build up that soil and modify that soil. So that already exists. Well, what's going to happen once you're able to do that all in real time and you're going to be able to tell, this plot of land needs more water than this plot of land? Instead of giving all of the water to everything, you're going to be able to micromanage that water usage. And all that stuff's going to connect. Same thing with cities. Imagine all of the technologies that are going to be enabled. Just think about your smartphone. Think about all of the things that are enabled. Just take one small example, the map. Thanks to your phone, you don't need to study or learn maps anymore. If you want to go from one place to another, you don't even need to plan it out ahead of time. You don't need to look up gas stations. You don't need to look up hotels. You don't need to look up anything. Thanks to being connected to the internet and having a GPS signal, all of that stuff can be calculated out for you. And all you have to do is plug in the data and go. You can know when you're going to be late for an appointment because you set it up to go to a certain situation, a certain location, and all of a sudden you get an alert saying there's a wreck on the road. Why do we have that information? We have that information because all of the devices are connected in real time and they're connected to the internet. We gather that information through the internet and then it's distributed out from there. So imagine all of the stoplights in a town being connected and they're able to tell. Right now they're all on a timer type system. Imagine they're all able to tell when there's a surge in traffic and they can adjust that timer accordingly so that they can open up that traffic. So imagine there's a point where there's a football game in your town and at the end of the football game, all of the lights leading out of town just automatically adjust. They don't need to be programmed or anything. They just use artificial intelligence and they're all connected to each other. They're all talking to each other and they just set it up to automatically turn on all those lights. Those are just some examples. These are all use cases that are going to be coming forward in the future, and more and more and more and more, you're going to see these types of things. And some of them are going to be ridiculous, like the microwave that's connected to the internet, and some of them are going to be really useful, like the soil monitors. But the thing that's going to make all of it enabled and make it all work is going to be Wi-Fi and 5G technologies. So obviously it makes, and this is the real big thing that makes everything possible. Obviously, it makes no sense to run cables. If you're going to have 1,000 sensors monitoring the soil, it makes absolutely no sense to run a cable. 1,000 different cables to all those. That's why something like that would never happen in a million years. But if all of them could connect wirelessly, that would be great. Now, here's the thing: they can all connect wirelessly right now, right? Well, there are limitations to current Wi-Fi technology and particularly cellular technology like LTEs. So there's limitations to bandwidth for one thing, but there's also extreme limitations to the amount of connectivity. It's difficult on older technologies, older Wi-Fi technologies and older generation cellular technologies to be able to handle, say, thousands of devices. They might be able to handle, those were built, those technologies were designed mainly for an office that might have, a couple laptops, maybe a printer. They weren't designed for devices, for everybody to have a device in their pocket. They weren't designed for there to be thousands of devices in a given area that were sending all that data back. So in order to make all of this stuff a realistic possibility and to handle the cybersecurity impact of it and to be able to keep you and your system safe and everything, you do need to work with an IT company that's able to build the type of network that you need to be able to manage those types of devices. That's why IoT is going to be important in the future. That's why you're going to need to build up your infrastructure to be able to handle it. But in the long run, it's going to be the way of the future and something you definitely want to look into. My name is Joe Justice. I'm here with Advantage Technology. If you have any questions, you can visit us at advantage.tech. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.